If you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do today? Who would you hold? What would you say? Or would you still pretend everything was fine, the way I once did? My name is Lindsey Moore, and I died on a November morning before the sun had a chance to rise over the hills of Texas. I didn't die of old age or illness or anything you could have seen coming. I died in the middle of a run, on the very path where I thought I was restarting my life. But the truth is, I was running away from my soul. I was 21 years old, leaving behind a childhood marked by long silences. My mother struggled with depression. My father was hardly ever around. I learned how to stay quiet, how to hide my tears behind polite smiles. But inside, there was always a whisper. There must be something more than this. Somewhere, somehow, a love real enough that I wouldn't have to pretend anymore. That's why I ran. Not to win. Not to get fit. But to hope that maybe I could outrun the pain. That morning, I was running a race. It was cold. The road was slick. But I didn't care. I had trained for weeks. I needed to feel like I was doing something. I needed to feel alive. What I didn't know was that just minutes later, I would cross into a place no one else could follow. I didn't know that the impact would not only break my spine, but also shatter everything I thought I knew about life. I didn't know that death wouldn't come with a scream, but in a silence so deep it felt like God was whispering, "You've run far enough. It's time to come home." Have you ever wondered what happens after we die? Is there a heaven? Is there light? Is someone waiting for us on the other side? The answers I found will change the way you look at life forever. Because the moment my heart stopped beating was the moment my soul woke up. And what happened next will make you never fear death again. I don't remember everything that happened after the impact. Just the sound of something shattering. A burning smell. Someone was screaming in the distance, like it was echoing from another world. I was lying on my side, motionless, unable to move my legs. I tried to reach for the glove compartment with my right hand, but my arm wouldn't respond. A cold fear crept in, metallic and sharp, not from physical pain, but from a deeper, more terrifying truth. I no longer had control over my own body. They rushed me to the ER, then straight to surgery. I heard people talking about a fractured cervical spine, about the risk of paralysis, and an emergency procedure. But it all just washed over me. I was there, but only as a helpless witness to the unraveling of my own life. At some point, I felt my heartbeat become erratic, then slow down. Someone shouted, "We're losing her." And that was the moment I disappeared. Not metaphorically, literally. I left my body, gently like an exhale. No pain, no noise. I just wasn't me anymore. I was floating above the operating table, looking down at my own body surrounded by people in scrubs. They were doing everything they could to save me, but the part of me that truly knew, that truly felt, that truly lived was already on the outside. I didn't panic. On the contrary, I felt an uncanny peace. No fear. No attachment. I looked at the surgeon's face and saw how exhausted he was, saw him scarf down a Snickers after his shift. I saw things no one lying on that table ever could. And in that moment, I realized death wasn't what I thought it was. It wasn't darkness. It was just a doorway. And I had just stepped through it. I drifted through the wall. I had no shape, no edges, no boundaries. I was just a clear, observing point of awareness, curious, free. I no longer belonged to the world I'd left, but I didn't yet belong anywhere else either. I was in between, waiting. But waiting for what? And then, from that space with no color, no time, someone appeared. Someone I had loved more deeply than anyone else. Someone who had passed on long ago. But today, they came back to welcome me home. At first, I didn't understand where I was. There was no ceiling, no nurses, no harsh surgical lights. Just a space as gentle as early morning mist, as clear as spring water. No color, yet it wasn't dark. No objects, but it wasn't empty. No sound, yet something like a silent song seemed to hum through every cell of my awareness, soothing and familiar. Then I heard an engine. A sound I thought I had long forgotten from childhood. It was the rumble of an old Ford truck, the one my grandfather used to drive. And when I turned around, I saw him sitting there in the driver's seat, wearing his worn-out cap and the faded plaid shirt I used to hug in bed on nights I missed him most. He looked back at me and smiled as if death had never come between us. "Hop in, Lynn," he said, his voice warm and steady, like it had been waiting inside my memory all these years just to say that one sentence. I got in, not with my legs, but through some kind of weightless motion. The door closed without a touch, and then we were moving not on roads, not on ground, but through memory. I saw the wildflower field, where he once taught me how to whistle with grass. I saw the wooden church where we sang hymns side by side. I saw a golden summer afternoon when he told me, "You don't have to be great. You just have to be honest and know how to love." I wanted to ask, "What's happening?" But I didn't need to. He already knew. He didn't explain with words or logic. He simply took me through moments of my life, not the proud ones, but the quiet ones, the ones I thought I had forgotten. Like the time I held a friend's hand while she cried, or when I gave up my lunch to a homeless child, or when I forgave someone in silence, without ever speaking it aloud. All those little things, now lit up like stars in the sky of my memory. And then, when the truck came to a stop, my grandfather looked at me. He wasn't smiling anymore. There was only a gentle gaze, calm, but solemn, as if he was about to entrust me with something sacred. "Do you want to keep going, or do you want to go back?" he asked. I didn't answer because I didn't know. Part of me longed to stay in this place where there was no pain, no deception, no loneliness. But another part, something deeper, something quietly kindled by the light, whispered, "There's something unfinished." I looked at him and asked, "Is there a heaven, Grandpa?" He nodded. "Heaven isn't a place, Lynn. It's where your soul finally remembers it has always been loved, even when it forgot." And then a door opened. Not the truck door, but a gateway of light. Not light like a lamp or the sun, but something alive. Something wise. A love without shape, yet instantly known by my soul. And in that moment, I understood I was about to meet the one who had called my name before the world was ever formed. I was about to step into the center of every question I had ever carried in my heart. I didn't walk through that gate. There were no feet, no ground, no gravity. I simply drifted forward, as if I were being pulled by a vast intelligence calling back a lost part of itself. And the deeper I moved into the light, the more it surprised me. It didn't blind me. It didn't burn. It didn't consume. It simply merged with me, and I with it. I was no longer Lindsey Moore. No name, no age, no memory of a quiet girl who once tried to outrun the dark. I was only pure awareness. A ray of light that knew it was loved. And I was not alone. Around me, or more precisely, within me, for distinct presences began to form. They had no defined shapes, but each radiated a unique energy. One felt like a gentle, nurturing mother. One like a strong, compassionate father. One is like a playful, innocent child dancing freely. And one felt like me, but a version of me that had been set free from every fear I'd ever carried. They didn't speak, yet I understood them completely. Every thought was like music. Every feeling is like a color spreading through my consciousness. And they shared with me three truths not through words, but through a kind of deep, undeniable knowing. The first, every soul comes to earth with a purpose. Not to succeed, not to control, but to learn how to love unconditionally. Love is the only true lesson. The second, fear is an illusion. But it must be experienced so that we can remember we are not our fear. Fear isn't the enemy. It's the first guide. But love is home. The third truth, every act born from love, no matter how small, carries eternal value in the spiritual realm. A hug, a word of forgiveness, a look of compassion. These simple things create ripples that reach far beyond the physical world. I felt myself dissolving. There was no longer a me, in the way I had known myself. I became a single drop in a vast ocean of light. No more questions need to be asked. No more answers were missing. Everything was there. In that light. In that love. In that source. I didn't want to leave. No one wants to leave that place. But one of the four presences moved closer. And it gave me one final message, not with words, but through knowing. You must carry this with you. You must return. Because others are lost, just as you once were. And they will only find their way when they see the light reflected in your eyes. I wanted to resist. I wanted to stay. But the light does not force. It only loves. And that love was strong enough to make me say yes. Then, in a moment beyond the measure of time, I felt myself falling backward from the light into form, from the infinite into the finite, from heaven back to earth. Waking up wasn't anything like I expected. There was no blinding light, no chorus of angels, just the steady hum of machines, the drip of an four line, and the soft squeak of rubber soles gliding across a sterile hospital floor. I opened my eyes. The room was cold and blurry, like a dream that hadn't finished. But my body was unmistakably real in every stab of pain. My neck was stiff. My arm was wrapped. My back felt like it had been crushed from the inside out. But the deepest pain wasn't physical. It was the ache of having just been torn away from the most sacred thing I'd ever touched, as if my soul had been ripped from its home and hurled back into a place that no longer fit. They told me I'd been clinically dead for almost 3 minutes. My heart had stopped. No brain activity. The doctors were preparing to call my time of death until suddenly, I breathed again. No one could explain it. They called it a medical miracle. But I knew. I knew it was a command to return. The day I woke up, a doctor came to my bedside, speaking gently, but with a certain guarded tone. He asked if I remembered anything, and I told him. I told him about the old brown Ford. I told him about my grandfather and the conversation we had in a car that needed no wheels. I told him about the Snickers bar, the one he, that very doctor, had quickly eaten between surgeries, thinking no one had seen. His face went pale. He didn't say another word, but I saw it in his eyes, the unspoken acknowledgement that I had been somewhere else, just not in body. I didn't tell anyone else. No one truly believes unless they've died. People listen with their minds, but I needed them to feel it with their hearts, and that, I learned, is rare. Visitors came, offering the usual lines. "We're just glad you're alive." What a miracle. God must have a plan for you. But no one asked, where did you go? What did you see? Who were you in the moment when you were no one at all? I felt a loneliness, so heavy it pressed against my chest like stone. Because I knew a truth no one around me wanted to face. We are not truly living. We survive, we repeat, we hide, we pretend, and we call that life. But I had seen a place where there was no pretending. A place where love wasn't a choice, but the very essence. And once you've tasted that kind of love, everything on earth feels pale in comparison. I used to think I survived the accident. But now I know I didn't survive. I was sent back. Sent with a reason. Sent like a letter sealed in spirit, unreadable to anyone except those souls who are slowly beginning to awaken. And then one night, somewhere between dreaming and waking, I heard his voice again, the voice from beyond the light. My grandfather whispered, "It's time, Lynn. You need to tell it. Some people need to remember what their souls knew before they were born." I didn't start sharing right away. In truth, I stayed silent for a long time. Not because I was afraid people wouldn't believe me, but because I was afraid they'd only hear me with their ears and not feel me with their hearts. This story was never meant for the mind. It was meant for souls who are quietly aching for a reminder. And to speak it out loud, I had to wait until the wound inside me stopped bleeding and began to shine. It took nearly 3 years. 3 years of living in two worlds. One of the schedules, bills, traffic, and quiet pretending. The other was hidden inside my heart, where I still spoke to my grandfather, still remembered what it felt like to dissolve into the light, still longed for a love too vast to name. Then one night, while teaching a small class at my local church, I noticed a child crying. No one else seemed to see. But I did, because those eyes looked just like mine once did, lost, like a soul freshly fallen to earth, unsure of who they were. I walked over, sat beside them. No sermon, no advice. I simply placed my hand on their back and whispered with the softest voice my heart could offer. "You are not alone. There's a place you once belonged to, and it's still waiting for you to remember." The child didn't speak, but their eyes lit up, as if something long forgotten had just been remembered, something no one ever taught them, yet they'd always known. And that's when I began to tell the story, not as a preacher, but as someone who had died and returned only to remind others that death is not the end, that each of us is part of the light, that every wound is a doorway to healing, that every fear is a calling from love that hasn't yet been held. I began receiving letters. Strangers wrote to me about dreams they'd had, near-death moments they couldn't explain, a feeling that there's something more than all this. I couldn't answer them all, but I read every word with gratitude, because I realized I was no longer alone. The heaven I saw wasn't just a place. It was a memory alive in the hearts of millions who were just waiting to be stirred awake. I'm not special. I'm just Lindsey. Someone who died, was loved, and was sent back with one message. We don't come to Earth to get it all right. We come to learn how to love. And when we love deeply, honestly, and unconditionally, we never really die. We simply return. So if you're watching this, and you've ever felt lost in life, ever asked, "Who am I really? Why am I here?" Let me tell you what my grandfather told me. You don't have to go anywhere. You just have to remember what your heart has always known. And if the world ever feels too cold, too loud, too harsh for your gentle soul, remember, that's exactly why you were sent here. You're a light in a body, and light is never lost.